webinars. Today we have reached the third one. The third one planned with a different focus altogether. As all of us are aware of, digital marketing is increasingly becoming a strategy of great value. Of course, the current lockdown situation must have increased its importance further. However, this area is still becoming slightly underexplored, both for customers as well as for the entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs of relevance for our webinars, that is nutritionists and dietitians, need to learn more and more skills in the digital marketing strategies. To address this need, we have planned today's webinar focusing on digital marketing. To deliberate on this topic, we have yet another successful alumna of our department, Mrs. Pragya Pathye. Before introducing Pragya to all of you, I wish to give you 3 instructions. The first one is, please do not switch on your videos. It will disturb the flow of streaming. And secondly, please put your or post your messages in the chat box, which will be taken up after the session is over. And the third one, please do not forget to submit the filled-in feedback form, the link of which will be shared with you towards the end of this webinar. Now, let me introduce Pragya to all of you. Mrs. Pragya Pathye is the founder and chief nutritionist at Balcal Nutrify Diet Solutions Private Limited. After completing her undergraduation from our own college, Mrs. Pragya has done her post-graduation from SNDT Women's University, Mumbai, and later on, she has become a successful registered dietitian. Pragya has worked with prestigious hospitals like Lilavati Hospital and Bhatia Hospital and gained valuable experience in the field of clinical nutrition. And post which she continued her practice for the past 16 years as dietitian and clinical nutritionist. She has many areas of expertise, which include weight management, corporate wellness programs, sports nutrition, women's health, kids nutrition, and diet to manage lifestyle diseases. It's very interesting to know that Pragya believes that food is a choice. True, very true, Pragya. Food is definitely a choice. And if it becomes mindful choice, it will do wonders. And she also believes that true healthcare starts with prevention, but not medication. This is also absolutely correct. So today, Pragya will be talking to us on embracing immense digital opportunities in the field of nutrition and dietetics. I now welcome Pragya to begin her session. Pragya, over to you.
Thank you, Subhadra ma'am, for the lovely introduction. And I hope I'm audible. If I'm not audible, please put it in the comment box so that we can fix the problem if there is any. And a very good afternoon to all of you. And at the outset, I would like to thank the entire Department of Food and Nutrition, Nirmala Niketan College of Home Science. And it's an honor to be here with you all. The topic for today's webinar is embracing immense digital opportunities in the field of nutrition and dietetics. But before I begin, I would like to assure you that you will find this topic very useful. Even if you are a fresher just out of college or you are already having a practice of your own, I'm sure this will help you find the growth that you're looking for.
Pragya, may I request you to put the PPT on slideshow?
Sure, ma'am. Just a minute.
Yeah, please.
Is it visible? Is the slideshow visible now? I think the screen sharing is started for the PPT, isn't it, ma'am? Subhadra ma'am?
Screen sharing has started. I'm just wondering whether it is on slideshow or not.
It is on slideshow, ma'am.
Okay, fine, fine. Please go ahead then. Yeah.
Yes. Just a minute. Yes. Is the screen visible right now? Yes. Today I'm not going to talk here as a digital marketing expert, but more as a user of these mediums to help us achieve the growth that we're looking out for. And before I move to the topic, I'll also be talking about the various options that we have in the field of nutrition, immense opportunities, and how we can capitalize on the usage of technology or digital opportunities to grow further. Uh, I would just like to quickly take you all through my personal journey. I passed out, as ma'am mentioned, from Nirmala 19 years back, did my master's, did my RD, worked with hospitals. And as would be the case with most of you who are already practicing or are going to practice, we take a sabbatical when the personal requirements take priority. So I have been practicing on and off. We had to move cities because my husband's job required us to move to different cities in the country. And finally, we decided to start with our own. Just a second. Is the PPT visible?
It is visible now. Now it is on
Yes.
slideshow, and you
Yes.
can be a little bit more louder, Pragya.
Is this a little better now?
Yeah, this is much better. Yes, continue.
All
Please.
right.
Yeah.
So we finally decided to start with a place of our own, and we basically look at holistic nutrition. It's not only about diet, but we also take into consideration all the other factors that have an impact on your health. And we partner with individuals. So the first thing that comes to anybody's mind is dietitian is all about weight loss. So that's really not the case. I do agree that weight loss is a big chunk of the consultation. However, we also have, as was just discussed, athletes coming to us, kids coming to us for dietetics advice. So yeah, it's great to be of help to people around you. We also do corporate workshops and workshops for school, and that's been a part of our journey all throughout. We wanted to pursue the entrepreneurial dream, and we launched Balcal in January 2018, and we started with the first clinic in Thane. We then started with our second clinic in Powai in December 2019, and slowly the client base also started expanding across the country, and with referrals it also took us to different clients from different countries like US, Canada, Singapore, Germany, and actually the sky is the limit for all the girls in this profession. So as we are seeing today that technology is a part of all the aspects of our lives. So we are currently having a webinar which also includes the use of technology. And so did our consultation, the way we consult changed over a period of time. And almost 1/3 of our consultation, which is around 33-35% of our consultations happen over a call, which is a telephonic consultation where we reach out to remote clients nowadays. The aspiration for in the next couple of years is to be a completely technology-driven nutrition counseling company, and we hope to have centers across the country in most of the prime cities. This is a beautiful quote that I would like to mention, that what is dangerous is not to evolve, which was said by Jeff Bezos, and it is so relevant, especially in today's time. Before I actually talk about digitalization, I'll just quickly go through how nutrition has evolved. I've seen the industry also evolving in the past 15-20 years, and it's been a positive change all throughout. And initially, nutrition was all about understanding the role of nutrients. and how they function at a molecular level or cellular level. And then nutrition became a focus area in terms of managing communicable diseases in the early century, early 20th century. And also it was more focused on nutrient deficiencies when it began. However, today we all know that nutrition is not strictly related to diet, but there is a more holistic approach to the way we look at things, and that nutrition is a broad concept and it has its own interactions with our social behavior, environmental factors, dietary factors. So nutrition is also evolving with each passing day. And the focus of nutrition has now moved to managing conditions of excess. So earlier it was all about protein, energy, malnutrition, undernourishment, anemia, and now the focus is about managing all the excesses as we are facing it as a society. So obesity, diabetes, all of it is a grave concern area nowadays. It's more about non-communicable diseases, and as we know, with the increased life expectancy, the aging population of the world is also increasing, and so is the need for a diet intervention there as well. So yeah, a quick look at what is the expected growth rate in the health industry per se. To begin with, there is an extremely high demand, strong demand for the healthcare industry, especially in India. And the healthcare industry is expected to grow at a rate of 22%, which is a threefold increase from a US dollar 110 billion from 2016 to more than double, 280 US dollars in 2020, and is expected to reach a turnover of around $272 billion by 2022, which is just a couple of years away from us. So there is immense opportunity, and we need to make the most out of it so that we achieve our dreams. The opportunities are also attractive, wherein the hospital industry, which takes up the biggest chunk of the healthcare industry, is to grow at a rate of 17%. So from a 4 lakh crore to 8 lakh crore, in the next couple of years that are here to come. The manpower has also increased. The numbers of doctors to the ratio, to the patient ratio is also, improving with each passing day. And when all of this is happening, there is going to be a huge demand for nutritional intervention and dietitians, as a fraternity together. This is one of the things which is extremely unique, because the government of India launched a scheme called Ayushman Bharat in 2018, and it is one of the world's largest government funded healthcare system. So we are already seeing that the government is having a faith in the welfare of the people. There is a rapid growth that is happening. There are digital transformations that are happening. There is telemedicine that is already started. Artificial intelligence is being used nowadays much with ease than what it was earlier. And with the COVID scare around, this is only going to accelerate the growth that we already are seeing. So basically, there is a huge opportunity for all of us to participate in this growth, to contribute to the well-being of others, and it's a win-win situation for both. Okay. So the way I mentioned, the entire focus when somebody talks about diet is, about weight loss and how do I lose weight. But in my 16 years of practice that I've seen, there is not, of course, weight loss does remain the biggest fraction in terms of the demand. But there is also a big chunk which is all about lifestyle diseases nowadays. So obesity in India is rapidly increasing, and 1 out of 3 Indians is going to be either overweight or obese by 2030, and there is going to be a need for nutrition intervention. India already is the diabetes capital of the world, with 77 million people being diabetic, and 25% of the deaths in India are due to the occurrence of cardiovascular diseases. Right. The second big segment after the lifestyle diseases in the current practice is about women and their health. So women, a lot of women have health issues for which nutrition intervention comes to their rescue. Every 1 out of 5 female suffers from PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and so is the incidence of thyroid. So almost 1 out of 5 girls of reproductive age have issues with their thyroid functioning. We already know that more than 50% of females are anemic. So there is a need in this segment, and it is also a bigger segment than just managing obesity. The third vertical that offers us space is the kids nutrition. We know kids in India have always faced the problem of stunted growth, or being wasted, being underweight, being anemic. To add to this, the health issues in children are also on the rise with the changing lifestyles, more use of junk food. Obesity is rising among kids, and the awareness is also rising among the parents. And we definitely are seeing more parents visit and drop by to take consultation for their kids to help them manage the kids better. The fourth segment, which is still at a nascent stage in India, is all about sports nutrition. But believe me, the faith that people have in nutrition and the contribution diet does to improve your performance, to increase your timing, to have better endurance, it's just growing by the day. It's still a nascent stage, but the dietary supplement industry or the wellness industry is expected to grow at around 1.5 billion, maybe around 20% in the next 10 years. So the agenda of this slide is to just show that there is enough space for all of us to practice, and there is a big market out there waiting for us to step out, and there is a genuine need for quality interventions across all these verticals. With the changing times, the client expectation is also changing, right? They want a fast service. So studies have shown that 66% of clients want an immediate response that day from a dietitian, or 40% of the clients want a response from a nutritionist in an hour's time. So that is how the expectations are changing with the clients from our fraternity. Flexibility and convenience is on the top priority for clients. They want a service which they can have it at the comfort of their home, at their convenient time. So we will have to evolve and adapt ourselves to these changing expectations from the clients. Gone are the days when a standard diet was shared with clients, and they were guided or handholded about managing their problems. Everybody expects a personalized diet now, and they want a plan that is specially designed for them, which also takes up a lot of time from us as a dietitian, right? People are also expecting multiple options. So nobody just wants to understand that you can have XYZ. They definitely come back to you and say, if this is not available, what is it that I can have? So we need to be prepared for all these answers, before we start growing and expanding. They also expect a consistent service. So if they were, attended in the first hour when they began, that is what they expect, even if you are loaded with work. So they really don't have any patience. That's the next point. The patience levels with the clients is also dropping. They want an immediate reply, and if you are not available to guide them at that very moment, they know they have Dr. Google to answer their queries. So our role becomes very important. Our participation also becomes very, very important. Clients also want the interaction between the dietitian and themselves to be friendly. They want us to empathize. They want us to understand they can't exercise, they can't sleep early, they still want to be healthy. So it's a journey that we must be prepared for whenever we intend to start on our own. Also, with the development of a lot of apps, people are planning diets for themselves, making out charts. They may not intend to spend money, spend time on visiting a dietitian. This is what we have seen. And with the client expectations, it is time we also change a little the way we work. Customer loyalty is the key to long-term success, and exceeding customer expectation is the best way to achieve it. If you ask me, that's the only way to achieve it, because if you are not there available or busy, they are going to move towards having a lot of customer loyalty to survive. So why the need to go digital? So in the current scheme of things, the way dietitians have been practicing, it's a dietitian driven business model. So if they come to a dietitian X, they want to go to her because they are happy with her. They are really looking forward to meeting some new face, in their next visit. So when you have a practice which is dietitian based, it is very difficult to replicate it when you think of growing or opening a center of your own or reaching out to a larger audience, right? So that definitely is a constraint if you're thinking of growth. Secondly, the client experience also varies basis how the staff or the team has been groomed. So there have been incidences where the client is not happy visiting a center. So these are all limitations that we are facing as an industry, and we'll see how we can use technology to manage these problems a little bit better later on. When there is a physical center involved, there are also pressures of profitability, and I'm sure most of the girls who have started working can understand and relate to what I'm talking right now. So come what may, you are supposed to perform on the monetary front, on the financial front, and that might drive down the experience that the client has with you as a dietitian. What happens is, if you can attend to 100 clients and you are expected to manage 250 clients, the response time is delayed when it's a dietitian driven way of working. And that is definitely not what that is not what is going to make the clients happy. Also the efforts, and there's a cost that is involved to get the client in the clinic, and we really have to have our strategies in place to make all of that happen. And history is not readily able to fill a form that when they come to you, and it lies in the file that is being stored, and if you want to refer to that, that is definitely not readily available, and that kind of drives down the experience of visiting you in a clinic. Also, when there is no technology that is used, and when there is no digitalization that is used, we as dietitians spend a lot of time on taking the history of the clients, whereas the focus should actually be on counseling them so that they go back happy and they definitely want to come back to you. All of us know that people are involved in doctor shopping, and there is a lot of client mobility that is happening in our industry. So if we manage to have a digital record, I think we can save all of us the time of repeating to take the history again and focus on quality service delivery. That is where technology, I think, starts making its presence felt, or its absence felt rather, and you realize that it's time to upgrade ourselves a little for the future ahead. Also, there is too much of data anyways, so I hope I'm clear about why technology or going digital is the way forward for all of us, right? Okay, so this is how a typical growth curve will look like for most of us, right? When we start practicing on our own. However, the time gap that we require to make the transition from phase 1 to phase 2 can be cut down by learning from the mistakes of others, so that we grow faster and don't waste time repeating the same mistakes. The faster you can transition from one phase to other, the quicker is your growth going to be. Model where a polyclinic that we are attached to, there's a physical interaction that is involved, and it's a great learning opportunity in terms of having insights, managing clients better, being prepared for an answer that you were not ready with. So yes, this is phase 1 that all of us have to go through, and then comes the point where you start getting referrals from your current set of clients. So they you see clients referring you to someone else, and the other person starts visiting you. There comes a point when the gens start expanding to locations across the city or the town that you live in. This is where telephonic consult and WhatsApp to fulfill the client's requirements in terms of sharing the diet plans. Also, the phase 2 is the time when there is when we also think of online promotion so that we are more visible to the client base. The third phase is when there is an increased online presence. So our consultation is not restricted only to the neighborhoods, but we have clients across the country, across the globe, and we realize that there is a dearth of quality dietitians in and around us, and there is a huge need to use the social media aggressively, right? Brand building becomes important, and it is important for us to make strategic alliances with people from the industry. So it may be, you know, having a tie-up with somebody who is a physical instructor or a yoga trainer or a health food product supplier, right? That's the way to grow. That's the way to make yourself visible, and that happens in phase 3. Phase 4 is all about using technology to your advantage. This is where intelligence is and is uniform, because it's the technology that is going to take care of most of the queries. So the experience is uniform across all touch points, right? So we are moving towards use of technology in the field of nutrition and dietetics of late, which about which I'll talk in the later slides. Yes, one of the biggest digital opportunities for growth for all of us lies in the use of social media, and I'm sure all of us agree, and couldn't agree more to this. So why go social? Some startling facts that will make us realize that we need to be a part of this. Yeah. So as you all can see on the screen, is using to have 1/4 of your clients reaching out to you if you start using social media, right? Which is a huge number when you are on your own. And 60% of the younger people refer to social media before they finalize on visiting a dietitian or any service provider. Here is where your testimonials or the reviews start giving you the impact that you want. So the higher the customer satisfaction, better the reviews, better is the likelihood that you will have another walk-in using social media. So social media is a very powerful tool, and as a nutrition fraternity, I think we are not making a good use of this available opportunity. Social media can also be used to engage the client. So 27% of clients check their social network several times a day. So if you are going to be visible, it's going to help us grow and take it to the next level. Follow pages, follow you. One more startling fact was around 30% of the time, 27% of the time that a person spends on online is on social media. So social media usage will give us the boost and exposure that we have not explored to the best potential available. Making ability. So is also influenced by the images they see on Insta that their friends have shared. So what you eat is influenced by your friends and also by the trends. So when we look at salad on Insta, the thought, for example, in terms of talking of trends, intermittent fasting or keto diet were always there. They were here popular only thanks to the usage of social media. That is the power of social media. So if you're practicing, I'm sure you can completely identify with what I'm already saying. You know, people want to come up to you, want to check on what is happening, what is recent. Can I do a keto? Should I do intermittent fasting? That's the power of social media on the client's mind, and we should make the most of it, right? Social media also gives us the opportunity to cut across socio-economic barriers and reach to the deepest pockets of the country. So we have a wider audience reach and a wider connect with people if we start using social media. With just like other things, social media also has its own pros and cons. So let's have a quick look at it. Social media is a source for inspiration for a whole lot of people to start taking care of their health, right? It is inspiring to see those transformation stories. And social media is also a good platform to get the support that you need. Take the conversation to somebody who has been through that journey, discuss your concerns without being labeled as stupid or crazy. And you can also access a lot of health products and health information using social media. However, social media also has its own cons. And with the transformations that people see, they also want an immediate transformation happening for themselves. So they are unrealistic at times. I'm sure most of you also have met clients who want to lose drastically because somebody else has managed it on social media platform. And all of this, all the so-called experts everywhere on social media, and they are supposedly giving you all the information that you want. And there are unhealthy products that will help you lose weight quickly, manage your health issues without any pain, and they seem lucrative. But yeah, that's the cons of social media. We'll have to live with it and learn the art of managing it better. Let's look at how we can use technology or digital opportunities to further our growth, to fuel our growth, right? Um, so when we are talking of brand building, there comes a stage where you've practiced for long, have a client database, and want to reach out to a larger audience, right? That is where brand building comes into picture. So what is brand building all about? It's about making your presence felt and having that authority, right? So in the process of brand building, a website is the first thing that anyone needs to do, right? A website is the first step to build your brand, and it allows you to present yourself the way you work, your philosophy, your core, that gives you a platform to put it across to the audience that you have. A website also needs to be clear, clean, transparent, and believe me, it is worth investing in a good website designer because your website is a reflection of your quality of work. So let's be wise and put the money to good use. And it's worth having a website of your own because that is what people will look out for when they hear your name the next time. The second opportunity, digital opportunity in brand building is about writing blogs, right? Writing blogs is an interesting way to communicate with larger audience, share your viewpoints, talk about the trending topics, be visible. You can also share your blogs on various groups, on various networking sites, so that people know that there is a person who knows the intricate details of what he or she is talking, and that you are always available for a consultation. Yes, the third way you can help build a brand of your own is by working on videos. So videos look a little tricky at times, challenging at times, may require to have a better quality picture. But videos, all said, is the most popular form of communication. With the rampant use of WhatsApp and the sharing that happens, videos, we see tons of videos being circulated. So hashing in of that, a channel of your own, a video is visible again across socioeconomic differences, you know. So you will have the richest watching your videos, the poorest watching your videos, you know. You can reach out to a wider audience if you start having a series, video series of it, with the comfort of within the comforts of your own home. You don't need to step out. So webinars is, especially coming into picture, people are going to be apprehensive about stepping out, meeting you in person, and that just makes using technology important than ever before. The last way to work on building your own brand is to finally working for a PR. So you know, it's you are in dilemma whether to use the PR. You know, it sometimes is against ethics, but believe me, after practicing, it doesn't look a bad idea when you see people unqualified talking about nutrition. You really want to make your presence felt. You need to think about a PR strategy. You need to plan for it, and you need to make sure that you are visible not only to the client but also in the industry forums and on bigger platforms. So, as you all can see on the screen, Facebook can be used, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn, WordPress, Skype, WhatsApp. I mean, these are enough work to be done from our fraternity, right? So, after building the brand, the next focus then moves towards defining a brand voice. Now, what is brand voice? So a brand voice is a few things that we need to remember when we are using social media to grow, right? So the first thing that we need to ensure that we are very clear about how we want to portray our character as. You know, there may be occasions when you need to be friendly, sometimes when you need to be inspiring, occasions where you need to be professional or even authoritative at times. So you will have to gauge the situation and then decide what is the role that you want to take up at that point of time. It has a big repercussion on decision making. So you need to be honest when you're communicating with your client, humble. At the same time, what you say needs to make sense. It has to look scientific, and it also has to be direct when a client comes to you with his or her own problems. We have to be very clear with what is the purpose of we using these platforms. You know, we can use the social media platform, digital platform, to engage clients, to educate clients, to entertain them, to enable them. So as long as we know what is the priority, it makes the journey easy. Moving to the language, we are in two minds. How should we portray ourselves while we are looking at brand voice? So the language can be simple, it can be savvy depending on the need, it can be jargon filled to impress the client, or you can just talk as an insider, as an authority of the subject. So once we have this in place, we are ready to go. Digitalization using technology, has entered all the areas of practice. So acquisition, engaging the client, and using the analytics, is growing manifold. It's growing with each passing day, right? So when we look at acquisition, we can use social media. We should use social media because that offers us a bigger reach, a wider reach, a bigger scale in terms of acquiring the clients, right? For example, social media platforms such as Facebook, once you have an article there, a video there, you are definitely making yourself visible to millions of users, and you can be you can make your presence felt. There are ways of having campaigns that you run in an organic way, so which means you are contributing to the social media at regular intervals, where people start looking out for your videos or information that you're sharing. And that is the way you grow organically. Paid campaigns are also available, wherein Facebook allows you, for example, to define the target that you're looking at. If it's boys between the age of 20 to 30, or if it is females between the age of 40 to 50, where the segmentation is possible, and you can reach out to specific clients with your schemes that you may be having at that point of time or in that month specifically, and you can use these platforms to acquire clients. We can also join various groups that we find on social media. So for example, there is a mom and me group, or there's a mom presser. So if you are looking at developing a practice in conjunction with a gynecologist, you can join the relevant groups. If you're looking at athletes, there are groups that they have, and you can join these groups and participate, so that client acquisition becomes easy. The next is using digitalization or social media to engage the clients, for which a few things are very, very important. It's important that we regularly share the content. You can't be sharing a content, disappearing, and then coming again. Out of sight is unfortunately out of mind in the current scheme of things. So a regular content participation is required. Genuine content is required. So you know that the client has read more about his problem than what we know, and he knows, if it's an original content, they want to hear your opinion, they want to hear your views, on their areas of concern. So being genuine is also important when you're trying to have a practice of your own. Social media also gives you the opportunity to listen to what a client wants to say, and to converse with him, and take it to the next level, where they engage you for your services. Customer service can also be better with the technology, where we are in contact with them, we are sending them wishes, we are making them feel special. There are reminders that are sent. These apps keep on sending you reminders. It's time to drink up a glass of water, right? And you really feel that, yeah, I think I'm parched and I need to reach out for a glass of water. So technology can be used to provide better customer service and to satisfy their needs. One more thing is to keep the client engaged. A theme-based campaign normally works better. So if you say have a theme about educating kids, and you have videos in series, there is a high likelihood that the client or the viewer is going to check your channel or your blogs for the next article. The the entire agenda of sharing this was an engaged client is a loyal client, and we should use technology to keep them engaged with us. Analytics, yes, data can be used for driving key insights, for better decision making, for personalizing what you have to offer. Now data, about what the person has liked, what the person has shared, is available at your fingertips, and we can use it to our advantage, right? Yeah, I'm going to share with you a few examples of how people have used these platforms, and the sky is the limit. There is you really struggle to read the numbers. How much is it? Is this the reach possible? And it is not a distant dream. So there's something called as a BuzzFeed Tasty page by Facebook, and believe me, there are 103 million people who follow it, right? I'm sure you've also heard of CureFit, because that also has more than 3 lakh people who follow it and are using it to derive health benefits. People are also using Instagram, and somebody like an Archana's Kitchen has 3 lakh followers. So it's just about going there, making a page, people giving you for consultation. I'm just going to present an example of Healthify Me, because that's one app which has used technology and completely changed the way it was working till its arrival. So Healthify Me was launched in 2012, 8 years back, and they have 5 million users as their base. Healthify Me is a lifestyle tracker wherein it gives you the option of downloading the app, entering what you've eaten, understanding how much you've burnt, and help you design a diet plan for yourself. It's India's first calorie counter, which was not available till then. And people used to depend heavily on dietitians to understand how many calories this food has. Healthify Me is a technology-based augmented coaching. They have somebody as an artificial coach, artificial intelligence coach, AI coach, and they call it RIA, right? So RIA, which is an artificial coach, uh, is used along with human trainers in Healthify Me. I'm sure a few of you would have even worked with Healthify Me. They have combined the usage of technology and human manpower to reach out to a wider audience. Social feed. Healthify Me also has a group where the user can reach out to others with similar problems, with similar interests, or similar likes and dislikes, and keep motivate each other to achieve your goals. So they also offer community connect if you have logged into their app. An amazing example of how they have an end-to-end delivery. So apart from using technology and human manpower, they also deliver services. They have an association with Fiternity, which if you are a member of Healthify Me, gives you access to multiple places to do your workout. They have a tie-up with Swiggy. So if you are on a high protein diet and you want to order a chicken tikka, they have tie-ups with the service provider that is required. So it's a complete end-to-end delivery that they have been successfully using for the past so many years. With the use of artificial intelligence, the cost of offering the services is also drastically dropped down. So they have packages from as low as $9.99 per month to $1699 per month, which is only possible because they have incorporated technology into their practice. Productivity, Healthify Me's artificial intelligence RIA is being enabled to answer almost 77% of the queries that the clients would normally have. Now, when technology is taking care of all these mundane tasks, the amount of consultations that the dietitians were doing earlier. So just for your information, one dietitian was typically addressing or managing 100 clients before RIA came into picture. And with RIA and the time that she is managing, one dietitian is managing up to 250 clients a month, which is more than double. I mean, that's the huge impact technology can offer us, and we can grow, and we can focus more on consulting rather than spending our time on things that can be managed by technology. So on a concluding note, or to summarize this all, how does technology change the game, right? We as nutritionists, I have to understand that data is more predictive, right? Since it is built on insights. So when we have data that tells us, a client with thyroid is going to take longer than, a young girl who's trying to lose weight, it helps us communicate clearly with the client, set realistic goals and expectations, and, use that data for better customer satisfaction. Using technology also makes the entire process less person dependent, as we discussed initially, that if it's a person dependent way of working, it's difficult to replicate that. But when we use technology, it just completely eliminates subjectivity. There is uniformity, there is a uniform client experience when technology takes over. Also, all these things, predictive data, happy customers, uniform experience makes the a better life cycle management in terms of the client experience, and it also helps us optimize revenues. When there is technology that comes into place, there is a better control that we have over different touch points. So you don't really need to step out and drive out to a center. You can just use technology to reach out to your touch points, address the problem areas, help them solve it. So technology is already seeping in everywhere without we even knowing all of this, and it definitely then allows us to grow faster and grow further. So basically, there is a huge headspace for digital transformation to influence and reshape the industry in a huge way. Now, all said and done, technology also requires monetary inputs, right? So we are expected to don two hats when we are starting our practice as nutritionists or dietitians. One is of the entrepreneur in us, where we want to make it on our own, and the second is of the finance guy in us, who has to have a very tight control over our expenses so that we can make the best of both worlds. So we are not letting go of cash, because that is going to be an important factor when you're looking at growth, and we are also looking at multiplying at a faster rate. So to conclude it all, it's a balancing act. It's always going to be a balancing act, and it's not going to be the same journey for all of us. So we'll have to experiment and explore, and the sooner we start with this, the better is the time we have available after we have identified what works well best for us. So I hope we start using technology to our advantage, and best wishes for all of you to make rapid strides and find all the educated dietitians around. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pragya. That was indeed a very wonderful presentation. And I'm sure all our department members are extremely happy with your presentation. Hearty congratulations to you. And going by your last slide, actually you have balanced your talk so well that you have covered each and every step in the journey of digital marketing for a nutrition professional, right from beginning till the management of the same. You have taken care of so many steps. You have given how to be, you have explained so well how to begin, how to go ahead, how to take care, and what are the damage controlling measures as well. It was really wonderfully arranged and organized talk, Pragya.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, it's very overwhelming, and there are so many questions. First, I planned actually to summarize your talk, but now I have left that idea because there are so many questions posted on the chat. So I feel it's my duty to take up as many questions as possible so that you can answer them and our participants will feel very happy. And I'm sure there are many nutritionists who are aspiring to market their services. And definitely now the best option is digital marketing.
Absolutely.
So many of them have come up with a lot of queries. So I will begin with some simpler ones and then take you ahead. Okay?
Sure.
Yeah. The first question was, is consulting clients from India and abroad different?
So I think the way we are taught at Nirmaniketan, the principles remain the same. Once you have sound principles and the problem across the globe remains the same, I think it's just a matter of putting down your point of view to the client who is settled abroad. Look at what is the food available. So principally, the do's and the don'ts of the diet remain the same. We just need to modify the diet depending on what is available in their vicinity.
Okay.
If I can add on here, there is a possibility that as and how you become famous, okay, you may have clients from abroad who may be Indian settled abroad, or
Absolutely.
maybe the foreign citizens also. So in that case, would there be any difference in your approach?
So for example, when I am interacting with clients who are born and brought up in America, their way of life is completely different, and as you start talking to them, that is where history plays a very important role. You really need to have a thorough understanding of what their current lifestyle is, what is available. And I still feel principally, complex carbs still remain complex carbs, or the importance of fiber still remains, the way it is, irrespective of the food that we are trying to accommodate in the plan. But principally, it more or less remains the same.
And probably the expert, the nutritionist should be well aware of the dietary practices of those people. So
Absolutely.
that may be a priority that has to
Right.
pay attention to. Okay, that takes me to the second question, which is very important and very often we keep seeing in the advertisements on the television or social media. of the clients before and after nutrition intervention. Okay, so many advertisements we come across. The question is like, no, is it okay, or does it come under body shaming? What is your
Uh,
opinion?
So if you ask me, I personally have, by God's grace and your teachings, clients who have been able to successfully transform themselves. And after practicing for whatever 16 years that I have been, I think it, for the person who has achieved, it's a moment of pride. And maybe the agenda is to motivate others. But when you look at the real life scenario, there are mixed messages that are sent across. So people conveniently just look at the transformation, and they somehow misunderstanding how much time was that person dedicating for all of that to happen. So I feel it's not about body shaming also, but when you have this happening around you and people come with you with that expectation, we need to be very very clear with telling them how long is the journey going to be, and that's the way it's going to be with you, because otherwise they feel cheated in the middle of the journey. Ma'am, you had promised me that I'll get results, and then it becomes an area of conflict. So I don't think it's body shaming, but it definitely adds to the pressure to you to perform as a dietitian, wherein you are to be blamed in spite of they not contributing and doing their part. So once you set the expectations right, I think this before and after really doesn't matter.
Okay,
That's
Pragya,
not
if you
the
don't mind, I wish to add one point to it. That is, as per the ethics, I think it is advisable to take their permission and keep them well informed ahead of time, like that you are going to use their images before and after, for whatever is the purpose. Like how we take informed consent in some researchers, probably that strategy may have to be followed, so that you are also not in any danger and the client is well known about it. And sometimes I have seen that this permission taken kind of that is printed on the image as well. Okay, probably that
yes.
can be followed.
And
Okay.
most of the times organizations do take a written permission, because otherwise there is a chance that they would run into legal trouble.
Trouble. Yes, yes, exactly. That's why I'm also mentioning it. Then there was a query whether they can use WordPress for the marketing. Is it
Designing a
okay?
website.
They can use,
Absolutely.
because website is very expensive. That's what they felt. So whether if they can use
Right.
WordPress. Huh?
WordPress is a very easy to use
Yes.
application, and you can design your own website, just that it takes time away from your practice time. So
Okay.
you end up compromising on the practice if you're trying to develop a website of your own. So if you
Okay.
don't have the limitation of time availability, then it's, I don't think, a very difficult task to build a site of your own.
So that shouldn't make much of a difference for them.
Not much
They
of a
can use.
difference. And there are youngers also. I mean, we've come across forums where there are guys who have just finished their digital courses and are ready to work for a smaller price. So maybe we can have a combination of both, our inputs and their inputs, and work a way which is kind of beneficial to both.
Yeah, yeah. May I request you to stop the screen sharing from your
Sure.
device? You will be able
Yes,
to
ma'am.
stop it. Yeah, yeah. I too forgot about it, because our participants wish to see you on the screen.
Oh,
Yes, yes,
all
yes.
right.
Of course, why not? And then the next, it's not a question. Actually, it's a request. If you can give some tips for framing the social media messages. And
Okay.
how do you, I mean, what do you follow before you frame a social media message?
The first thing that comes to the mind is what is the current topic of discussion, what is hot, and that is definitely going to grab all the eyeballs. So, what are the trends? So, we still, are upgrading our knowledge. Nutrition doesn't seem to end. There is enough and more to understand. So, by checking them once a day, you have an insight about what is, garnishing more visibility, and we try and stick to that and move over and above it to move to your topics or of comfort.
Yeah, yeah. And as an academician, I would, I mean, I can't restrain from adding to this that whatever message you are giving, if it is related anything to nutrition, better it has evidence-based information. So if it is
Absolutely.
related to that. Okay, then there is a question only. They are asking you, which software do you use for online practice to collect especially the data on client information, diet planning, follow-ups, etc. So which software do you use, and do you have any suggestion for a user-friendly package?
So we have an in-house team. We are, using their services and different packages to send reminders to the clients. I'll have to get back to you on this. Also, I mean, just one thing that I wanted to share with is in terms of, kids. Kids was one segment that we realized takes up a lot of our time in terms of history. They are very volatile. They don't sit in the place. So we have developed an in-house app to assess the kids' health before they walk in, look at the areas that need to be addressed and save on time. So we are also trying. So that is what I said. I'm not here to talk as a digital expert, but to share my journey, how we are also trying to, fit that into place so that we can focus more on our growth from
Yes, you are learning
where
by
we are today.
experience, exploration
So
and experience.
because
Yeah,
yes,
that is
definitely.
wonderful. Actually, that is how your learning is going to be very, very strong and very useful. Yeah, I agree with you. And then there is another question: how do you manage the listings? Okay, to increase our visibility to get more clients, because more the listings, more popular you are. So how do you
Right.
manage?
So for your SEOs, which is your search engine optimization, the only thing that works is constantly adding matter or content to the various platforms and identifying the keywords and using them in your blogs or your videos is the way. So there are people who do SEOs for you, but if you manage to do it on a regular basis by using the right keywords, it just makes you visible on the
Okay,
top
okay.
slot.
And the last question for today's session is it okay to invest in boosting the post? Because sometimes, as I say, I think it is related to the previous question itself, but yeah, is it okay to invest? It may be very expensive.
Boosting a post is actually not very expensive, but
Okay.
my personal experience is boosting a post has never given you the referrals that you would imagine. But the only thing is when you invest in a post or a campaign, it definitely gives you the visibility, and you keep on investing money in developing yourself as a name in itself or as a brand. And people may not immediately reach out to you, but they definitely come back when they feel a need to reach out to a dietitian.
Okay.
And it's not really expensive to invest in a feed.
Okay, that's great. Pragya, it's very nice interacting with you. I think there will be, it can be a never ending discussion, both between us and between participants and yourself as well. But on behalf of our department, I wish to say that we are very proud of you and we wish you all the success in all your endeavors. Thank you very much for accepting our invite and being here on this session. Thank you so
It's
much.
been an honor and a complete privilege, and I'm really glad to
Thank
be
you.
here.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
We are proud to have you as our alumna. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Over
Bye
to
bye.
participants. Yeah. Over to participants. Please fill in the feedback form as I have already instructed, uh, so that it will be easy for us to post your certificates later on. And I wish to make one announcement about tomorrow's session, because we are so used to 3 o'clock sessions for the past 3 days, including today, of course. But tomorrow's session is beginning earlier, that is from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Please remember, the session on sports nutrition is going to begin from 11 o'clock tomorrow to 12 o'clock. So that is my announcement. And before winding up with today's webinar, I wish, on behalf of our department, I wish to express our heartfelt thanks to our management for supporting us in our endeavors, and of course to Kellogg's Nutrition for extending their support to us. Thank you very much. Of course, I cannot but thank each one of you for taking part in today's webinar. And see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock.